Game one of the ALCS in the books. Mariners beat the Jays 3-1. Let's dive into it. I'm Dan with special guest Bobby Valentine. And Bobby, this is not what anyone predicted. This was supposed to be a tired Mariners pitching staff. The Jays were not going to score 11 runs, they were going to score 20. Instead, they managed two hits and one run. And that one run came off the first pitch to a Blue Jays hitter.
Wow, and had so much time to think about what it was going to be like. What's going to happen when we get there and we're at home and we're rested and the other team's not. And then George Springer, the greatest hitter out of Connecticut ever, hits a home run leading off the game, and you say it's over. And that was the problem. It's like when you have it 40 love and you're playing tennis and you think it's over. And the next thing you know is you look up, it's 40-40. You're trying to get back into the competition mode. I think their competition button was turned off after the home run.
Now, you would know better than most when a team has some time to rest and you're facing a team that just went extra innings to advance. That team, I always consider it uh, like
A
not an
wounded
automatic, but a standard car where you're like, okay, we're going along. We don't have to mess with the clutch. And then as soon as you pop it out, you got to get everything back in order. And that's kind of what the Jays, they were struggling to get it back in gear.
Yeah, that's what it looked like. They um, were thinking about how to do it instead of doing it. It's a weird situation. You have a long time. You wonder what's going on. Oh yeah, Miller's pitching. They don't have pitching. They're tired. They can't last. And a home run in the first at bat kind of just takes a little away. And I'm afraid it took it away from the players and it took away from the crowd. I played there at the Olympic Stadium and at Exhibition Stadium when the Canadian fans were just becoming baseball fans and they were really quiet. There wasn't anything to be heard. They kind of reacted to things that might happen with the home team. And tonight, they kind of fell back into that mode that they were waiting to react. But after the home run, there wasn't anything to react to.
I'm glad you brought up Exhibition Stadium because I've always wanted to ask someone how many years did that AstroTurf at Exhibition Stadium, at the other cookie cutter stadiums, take off guys' careers? Must be,
Oh, yeah.
if you totaled it up, hundreds of years.
Or just count the operations, knees, backs, and hips. There are too many to count. Yeah, it was running on concrete and just a little harder than that.
Hang on one sec. Is everything okay there?
With me, my dog's
Okay,
crying.
we're live right now. Okay, so that's a problem with doing work from your own house. Maybe they were upset about the Blue Jays only getting 2 hits.
No, it's
Ah,
my dog. When I'm talking to someone else, he gets so jealous that he wants to cry and say, "Why aren't you talking to me?" So we're just gonna have to ignore his crying in the background.
okay, so Bobby, I wanna get something, out of the way that a lot of
Yeah.
Jays fans, they were texting me, they're like, "Why did they pull Gosman?" And I think when you only accumulate 2 hits, let's stop that. Let's stop that in its tracks, taking Gosman out when they did.
Well, it's hard to stop it in the tracks. They took him out when they did because they had a rested bullpen, because they wanted to use all of their cards. I think that was a situation where, some of the people are going to go home tonight and say, maybe the rested bullpen isn't as good as the guy who's in there competing. The guy who was in there competing was doing a hell of a job. He was into the game, he was into the outs. And I think, there's going to be some second guessing by those who made that decision, not only to those who didn't.
The other question being posed to me was why Anthony Santander keeps making his way into the Jays lineup. This is a guy the team signed for a lot of money, missed most of the year due to injury. He has been in just about every game in the lineup for the Jays, and he has not done anything. And what I keep coming back to with our Jays insider is, well, he's one of the most respected and liked guys in the majors. I'm like, does that earn you a spot in the starting lineup every game?
Sometimes it does. When you're thinking about the team mentality and what the team is thinking about the team, when you play the guy whose back of the baseball card is credible, you get a little cred. Now, if within that clubhouse and within that dugout, they're saying, man, he's missing a step, he's not really in tune, he's not the guy that is on the back of the baseball card, then you have a little problem, not from the people who are calling in, but the people who are swinging and pitching and fielding during the competition.
The Mariners did exactly what you need to do as a visiting team coming in. You win one when you're on the road. So, whatever happens in game two, they are fine with the outcome. So, is it possible to play stress free baseball? Because I think this is as close as you would get if you're the Mariners going into game two.
Well, I think the Mariners have to protect against thinking they've done enough. I think they have to, while the iron is hot, they have to strike. That they're on fumes right now. Well, keep playing on fumes. Fumes are enough to get them where they want to go. If they think they have to stop and refuel, they might have a problem restarting after they do that.
You know what they do? It's Canadian Thanksgiving. So, the Jays send some turkey to the
Yes,
Mariners and get that
that's it.
tryptophan going.
Load them down with turkey and La Bats Bleu, and make sure that they think that
Yeah, make
they
sure the Mariners are tanked for game 2.
that'll help. I'll tell you that, because by the time they sober up, going back across the country, you might have an even series.
I hope Yankees fans watch this game because the discussion among them was Jays are cheating. They're getting signals from the hotel in center field.
I love that stuff. That dates back so far. Everyone always thought you went to Canada, it was tough to get through customs. You had to change your dollars into dollars. They looked the same, but they weren't worth the same. And they're going to cheat the best that they can because, they're the foreigners. Well, that doesn't happen. That's not happening. Good hitters are good hitters and bad hitters aren't. And sometimes you get lucky when you're not a good hitter, and that happened, I think, in that Yankee series.
Uh, but also it's a mentality where the Jays, I think, have kind of adopted it, saying they're just making up stuff now. First off, they didn't know our names, most of our names when we started this postseason run, and now they're accusing us of cheating. So if they're accusing you of cheating, you're doing something right.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with being
And
accused of
if you aren't
cheating.
cheating, you aren't trying.
Well, or the other team was allowing you to cheat. That nonsense. Real quick statement. That nonsense about the Astros beating a drum in the dugout, aside of a trash can, and that's how they're giving signals. Bullshit. That did happen that way. Believe me, I was in the other dugout. I would hear the banging of the trash can, and I'd have something done about it. That wasn't happening. And whether or not they're stealing signs now or not, you still have to produce. And tonight the Jays didn't produce.
What was the most blatant form of cheating you ever saw in your big league career?
Well, you mean that I was trying to do, or
Or that you had
I
orchestrated
installed
against you?
cameras. I installed cameras before the cameras were in vogue. I was shooting the third base coach and staying up until 3 in the morning trying to figure out what signs were on and watching in slow mo. Hell, yeah! I think I tried to cheat, but once again, my father-in-law for many years was Ralph Branca. He threw the pitch on October 3rd, 1951 to Bobby Thompson, shot heard around the world. They said the Giants were cheating, and that's why the Dodgers lost the pennant and the championship. I said, not shame on the Giants, shame on the Dodgers for allowing them to cheat. That's what that thing's all about.
Let's put ourselves in the Blue Jays locker room
Yeah.
post game and before the game tomorrow. John Schneider, he's been with this team down the Rocky Patch where they almost lost the AL East. At the time, he said everyone thought the sky was falling, everyone but us. So, what do you say if you're John Schneider to your team?
Oh, I doubt that he's having any clubhouse meeting. I think there's a feeling that they believe in each other. And if there's a few cracks in the armor, I think maybe John's going around and maybe trying to patch those cracks in the clubhouse, you know. But to get this far into play as well as they've played, they have a spirit de corps. They believe in each other. They think tomorrow's going to be fine. And I don't think John needs to do anything to disrupt that mentality.
The dome should be open. It's going to be 19 Celsius. So in
Well,
Fahrenheit, that's like low 70s,
beautiful.
right around 70. It's going to be
Yeah.
beautiful October baseball weather. I wish they had the dome open tonight. It was a beautiful fall night. And Trey Usavich gets the ball for the Jays. He has never faced the Mariners in his brief, I think it's now a 5-game big league career. So are they spending the night looking at tape of him because of his overhand delivery, which is the second highest vertical in the majors?
I don't think so. I don't think that they can uh, understand what he is by looking at video. That video, remember, is a two-dimensional world, and when you're playing the game, it's three-dimensional, and everything changes. And because he's so different, it'll look different. There's no doubt about it. They just have to understand that they can't get freaked out by how different it does look and let the ball get up in the zone and try to get a good whack at it. He looks really tough, whether or not you've seen him before or this is the first time. So they have their work cut out for him. But listen, Seattle's a pretty good team, and you
Yeah.
make a few mistakes, they could hit a home run. And that guy behind the plate is the first guy that I've seen in a long time who starred for 162 games and then came into the playoffs and never changed the beat, became the same player that he was during the regular season. You're watching something pretty special right here.
Uh, yeah, it's almost getting back to you, Savage. It's almost the perfect starter for a game, too. A guy that is just happy to be in the major. It's like throwing a puppy dog out there. He hasn't had to deal with life really and to overthink it.
Good news and bad news. The good news is he hasn't had to. The bad news is how's he going to react if he has to?
Yeah. I always start with the bad news first because
Oh
then
yeah,
you're
you did.
lifted up when you get the good news.
I'm with you, bro. I'm with you totally. You know, it's the guy who says, "Hey, I just came out of the operating room." The doctor comes over and said, "Had a successful operation, but I got a little good news and bad news." What is it? He says, "Well, the good news is it was successful. We cut off the wrong leg."
I love it. Are you back with us
Okay,
tomorrow?
we're with you tomorrow. Thanks,
Bobby,
Dan.
thanks for this, and we'll talk to you tomorrow after game 2.
I'm with you.